Hello friends, today we're going to play a chord melody arrangement of Someday My Prince Will Come. There's free tabs on my website for you to download. I'll also put them up on the screen as we do a play along. More importantly, we're going to talk about how you can start to make your own arrangements of jazz standards off of lead sheets. Let's give this a try. Learning arrangements like this is a great gateway into jazz harmony, but what's even more important is understanding what's going on behind the scenes and how to make these decisions for yourself in real time. One of the best ways that you can do this is start to build your own chord melody arrangements off of lead sheets. A lead sheet is a piece of paper that has the melody and the chords written to the tune, but not a full arrangement. It's just a bare bones version of the song. And this is what's used predominantly in the jazz world to show tunes so that we can make our own decisions about the harmony and how we want to solo over top of it. So what I want to do is take you through a simple process for taking a lead sheet and making it into a full arrangement. Now we're going to skip over the first and maybe most important step here, which is creating a playlist of the tune and just listening to as many versions as you can. You want to get the melody and the harmony to the song in your ear, and you want to hear what other people have done with the arrangement before you so that you can steal their ideas. Music is all about building upon the past to create something new. We are not all geniuses. So please take some time to go listen to as many versions of the tune as you can. Now, I've based this very loosely off of the Miles Davis version of the tune, and that is why we're in the key of B flat. You'll be able to find a lead sheet for this floating around online in the key of B flat as it's become the standard key, but it's important to know that that comes from the Miles Davis version of the tune because from Snow White, it's in the key of A flat, and the original sheet music is in the key of F, and all of these are perfectly fine, but I've chosen B flat because it sits well on uke. You can also do this in the key of F on uke and it stays a little bit lower on the instrument, but I prefer it in B flat. So let's look at the first step to creating our chord melody arrangement. We're going to use the first 8 measures of Someday My Prince Will Come as our vehicle to talk about some of the decisions that I made in this arrangement. Now, the first thing that you need to do after you've listened to the tune and you know how it's supposed to sound is to learn the melody of the song. And many of us grace over this step, whether we're learning to strum the chords to a tune to sing it, or we want to improvise over it. Learn the melodies to songs. The melodies tell you most of what you need to know about the harmony, what chords we should play, where the tension is in the song, so that we can make our own decisions about that. So the melody of the first 8 measures of Someday My Prince Will Come sounds like this. You want to take some time to familiarize yourself with this. Now, on uke, we always have multiple ways to play the melody. So when I'm looking at the melody to a song, and I know that I'm going to add chords to it later. This is different if I'm thinking of this just as a single note melody. But if I'm going to add chords, I want to keep the melody as high on the instrument as I can. Most of it I want to be on the A string because that means I have 3 voices of harmony underneath. Now obviously this first F, we can't play on the A string. There is no low F on the A string. We could also play it on the C string, but that really limits our possibilities. So I'm going to start here and then I go, oh, my B flat, I can just grab right here. Again, the F sharp, no other place to play it besides all the way down here. So the E string is going to be my best bet. The G for the moment I'm going to put on the 3rd fret of the E string. If you're playing high G, you can also play it down here, and we'll see how that can be really useful later. Now the rest of the melody really just lays out on the A string of the instrument. We might have to make some changes down the line when we add chords, but my preference would be to keep that entire melody on the A string so I can let it really ring out and have as many options for harmony as I can underneath. Let's just try this melody together, the first 8 measures. 1, 2, 3. You want to take some time and really get this under your fingers. When I'm making a chord melody arrangement, I'll usually spend a couple days just playing the melody of the song, really figuring out where I can lay it out on the fingerboard, good fingerings to get around it before I even bother adding any harmony. So now let's talk about the chords. Much as we should know the melody to the song, we should also know the basic harmony to the song. And many of the lead sheets that you are going to find are going to have a lot of chords that look like algebra equations on them. And I want you to ignore them and make the chords into their simplest harmonic form. So what does that mean? Well, in this first chord, you'll probably see a B flat major 7. And a B flat chord is just fine because our melody note is an F. That major 7th is not actually part of the movement of the tune. We can add that. That's a flavor that we have to add on top. But I want you to start out with just a B flat because our melody is an F. It's not telling us that we have to do anything special. Now, our next melody note, that B flat, we're actually going to think of it as an A sharp here because our next chord many times is a D7 sharp 5. Now, there's not really a terribly convenient voicing for that down here, so I'm going to substitute a D augmented chord, which is leaving out the dominant 7th, but it still gives us that sound of motion, which is what we are listening for. We're going to use a lot of triads here. If you're not familiar with triads, I'll link to my lesson on triads and how to use them right here. So we're going to start out with B flat, D augmented, and then E flat is our next chord, our 4 chord. And again, you'll see this a lot of times as a major 7th, but in the melody, we have this A. We're going to talk about that in the next section. But for now, we go, well, it's the major 7th that the lead sheet is telling me. That D, it's nice, it sounds beautiful, but it's a color. It's not part of the melody. It's not an important piece of the puzzle for us. So we see E flat major 7, we play E flat major. So we get B flat, D augmented, E flat major. And then we have a G7. A lot of times, again, this will be a sharp 5 chord or a flat 13 chord in many of the lead sheets that you'll have. But again, what's our melody here? Well, our melody's not that sharp 5 in this instance, so let's just play a G7th chord. We don't need those modifications. The G7th is our dominant sound. It's taking us somewhere, right? So you get B flat, D augmented, E flat, G7. And this brings us to C minor 7th. This is usually what you'll see. And now our next chord will generally see a G7 with a sharp 5. And here, our melody note is in fact the sharp 5. So we want to make sure that we incorporate this into our basic triad. But I'm not going to play a G7 sharp 5. I'm going to use that augmented sound again. Leave out the 7th, just play a G augmented chord. Because to me, that augmented sound, that D sharp or E flat, is the most important sound. So our augmented sound is here, and that leads us back to C minor 7th. And then it goes to F7th, which you're telling us is going somewhere new. F7th is usually going to bring us back to B flat. In the case of this song, it's actually going to bring us to a D minor, this deceptive cadence. So our harmony ends up sounding like this. So we have a B flat triad, D augmented, E flat, G7, C minor 7, G augmented, C minor 7, F7. So it's important to get your fingers around this. Now, these voicings aren't going to be terribly important for us in the future, but what you want to do is hum the melody while you're doing this so that we can hear how with these basic triads, how the melody forces us to make certain harmonic decisions. This is very low for me, but I'm going to hum the melody. Do, dee, do, dee, do, dee, 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 do, dee, do, 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 do. So at this basic bare bones harmony, we're able to sing the melody. Hearing the basic motion of the melody and the chords against each other is important because we're going to replicate that sound, but there are so many different ways that we can do that. Now that we have our melody under our fingers and in our ears and our basic chords down, it's time to put the two together into a rudimentary chord melody version of the song, to just hear how these two puzzle pieces fit together and how they start to lay out across the fingerboard. Starting with this B flat chord, remember our melody note is F, so we're just going to do a partial strum up to our E string. And although on high G, the B flat is actually a higher note. Remember, we said we want our melody to be the highest note in the chord. If it's the last one that we strum, we hear that F is the important one, don't we? So it doesn't matter that this B flat's a little bit higher. You'll see in the next section that we can leave it out, and sometimes it's more effective, but for now we'll leave it. We go to our D augmented, where our melody note's this B flat or A sharp right here, so we don't need to do anything. We just need to strum our chord. And again, that F sharp, that's in our chord. It's a chord tone. Again, melody tells us nearly everything we need to know about the harmony. Now our E flat chord, it's an E flat major chord, but our melody is an A. So we can think about this as an add sharp 11, and this is a lot of times where that major 7 sound comes from. Major 7 with a sharp 11 on top of it. Maybe you'd hear this sort of sound, that sharp 11. But for us to be able to have this on top, let's just use our open A string. So we open 3, 3, open, which what am I doing? I'm taking my E flat chord and just lifting up my first finger. I don't care that it's a sharp 11. I care that the A is in the melody, and I'm just adding it to the E flat chord. Our G's already in here. Again, we could use the open G, but we're gonna leave that out for this part so that it's fair for both high G and low G players. And then we're gonna go to G7th. Again, we could play it here. There's a lot of different ways that we could kind of play this G7th chord, but I want you to stick for now with your basic dominant 7th chord voicings. If you don't know your basic dominant 7th chord voicings, click this link above so that you can get to know them better, because they're great landmarks on the instrument. So our G7th voicing we're playing out of is this one right here, 4, 5, 3, 5, but I'm just going to strum up to the G string, because that's my melody note. Again, this B is above it. Maybe we'll want to deal with that later, but not for now. So our first line becomes, we go to our C minor chord. We want to play a C minor here, maybe not the C minor 7th, because if we play C minor 7th, again, E flat triad, either's fine, but I'm going to play 5, 3, 3 for the moment. And then remember that this next one needs to be a G7 sharp 5 or an augmented sound. It needs to have that sharp 5, that D sharp or E flat in it, because it's the melody. So what can we do? We can take that same G7th voicing, 4, 5, 3, 5, and just play the D sharp. Slide your pinky up. And then C minor here, well, our melody note's a D, isn't it? We need to incorporate that into our chord, but we know C minor is here, right? Here's C minor, so we can add that. If this is tough for you, just play a C minor 7th, which is C minor 9, 3, 3, 3, 5. This is actually an E flat major 7th chord, but we've got a bass player on the track, so all is good in life. And then for F7th, well, our chord that we already played works for that, right? The melody's in the top voice. So just our basic chord melody will sound like this and give us a lot of our landing points on the fingerboard, and then we can start to arrange the harmony beneath that. So then we can start to add some rhythm and make our harmonic decisions. Now we get to have some fun. We can add our own tensions, we can add in our own rhythmic parts, start to talk about playing two full parts at once, the melody and the chords. Starting with this B flat chord. Remember, we had just strummed all the way up to it before, but it would be a lot stronger here if we just plucked that F and then filled in the blanks of beats 2 and 3 with a chord. Now if we put our whole chord down here, we kind of lose that F, don't we? So I want to keep just this D underneath it. So I'm actually going to voice this. 3, 2, 1, 3 is what I'm playing, but I'm not putting down pressure on my G or A strings. So I'm just getting this harmony of that nice major third between the third and the fifth of the chord. Let that melody shine through. Melody is the most important important part. As I go to the augmented chord, well, again, I'm gonna pluck that. I want my melody to sing out, and if it's always part of a full chord, it's not gonna sing out well. Pluck the melody again. I want this melody to shine through. Now this E flat chord, we already have this added A, right? This sharp 11. You'll see that I'm strumming it twice because I want to fill in that second beat. Something that the tablature doesn't tell you, and a lot of times that an arrangement will not tell you, is the separation of these parts. But we know the melody, and the melody goes. So we know that that second strum on E flat is just accompaniment. That's our guitar player way in the back, so we want to be really light with that. In fact, on the first E flat, you'll see that a lot of times I do a little roll with my thumb, just coming slowly through, and then a brush on beat 2 to texturally differentiate them. And this next measure, I'm not even going to play G7, and I'm not going to play the C minor 7 either. I'm going to find a different way to say these chords. A lot of times we think that we can't play bass lines on uke because it's not a low instrument, but we absolutely can, and we can play these little counterpoint lines to the melody. So as I come through my E flat, I'm going to walk down to that C minor. So my melody is the G, and then my bass player is walking back down. D, D flat, C. And then I'm going to just displace the melody a little bit. I'm going to move it to beat 2, because I can do that. It's my decision, and it can be your decision as well. So what's this E flat? Well, I'm going C, G, E flat, which are the notes in my C minor chord. I'm outlining the chord in individual notes instead of just playing. I could do that. That would be just fine as well. But I wanted to change this up and not strum chords the entire time. Use single notes to insinuate the harmony as well. And then as we go up to this G7, remember we had done this G7 sharp 5. Well, I want some more tension on this. This is kind of boring of a chord to me. So we can use our idea of parent diminished chords, and I'll link to my lesson here on that to find the different tensions that we can use around this. And what I'm really adding in is a flat 9 here, which you might see this and say it's a D flat 9 chord. Kind of is. It's our tritone substitution, and we're adding the 9th to it, which gives it the sound of a sharp 5. But I'm thinking this is an extension of my G7th chord. The harmony here is still G7. Bass player is still playing a G. I'm just playing color on top, the upper extensions of the chord with this minor 7, flat 5, minor 6, or dominant 9 shape, right? But if we look at our G7 that we were just playing, what do I do? I'm moving my melody note up, right? I have my melody, and then I'm just adding this extra tension with that A flat. C minor 9. It's there for you. Playing E flat major 7 chord, bass player's playing a C, it's a C minor 9 chord. And this is my favorite little bit. This walk up on F7 gives us so many possibilities. Remember we did. And we could take this and we could harmonize with say a diminished scale. We could go. That's a nice sound. We could do a 9th and flat 9, 13 walk up. We could do these 9th chords maybe. Lots of options, but what I decided here is less is more. And sometimes that's what we need to do. Just because we have 4 strings doesn't mean we need to play them all. But exploring your possibilities is a lot of fun. So what I did is just the basics of the chord. Here's my melody note. And I thought maybe I'd do some contrary motion here. Go down to the A flat and the D here. And that actually brings us to this diminished voicing here. Now you could actually land on this 9th as well. This would be nice. Your 5, 7, 5, 6. There's not a right answer here. There's options for us to choose. But what I'm thinking about is the contrary motion. The 2 voices moving against each other. Go up to the 9th this time. Both are really nice tensions that we have. So that last little bit on the C minor 9. And that really lets, again, the melody shine out. And that's what it comes down to for all of this. So the melody is the most important part. And a lot of times when we're arranging, we want to play all of the fancy chords, but that's secondary to the melody. When you're doing something like this, let the melody shine through. I hope you've enjoyed this look at the first 8 measures. If you'd like to go further into this, let me know in the comments. I'd be happy to do a live stream where I walk through the entire song like this and we piece it together from scratch and look at different options that we can use. If you want to dive into building and playing more chord melody arrangements, join me over on the Tin Man's Magic Ukulele Club, where we do fun things like this every single week. I'll see you all soon.